why don't you tell us about the organization that we are supporting this month?
Cool. So the organization is the Chinatown Community Development Center. And the charter of CCDC, what they call it, is to build community and enhance the life for San Francisco residents, which is primarily focused on Chinatown, North Beach, and then Tenderloin. So some of the things that they do are they're community advocates, organizers, planners, and then they develop and manage affordable housing.
That is so cool. So from what I understand, they actually have stepped up a great deal because of COVID. Can you tell us about how things have changed and what they have been up to with that?
You know, I think a lot of times when people think of CCDC, they think of, affordable housing and that aspect of their of the nonprofit. But when COVID happened, they kind of pivoted their focus because a lot of the housing in Chinatown is called SROs, so single room occupancy. And these single room occupancy places, it's almost like a college dorm where you have a single room, like a small room, and then they have community bathrooms and community kitchens. So a lot of the times people that live here are elders and then low income families. So this could be literally like 4 people living in one small dorm type room with bunk beds. And, this is really where you don't want to be when a pandemic is happening, because you're living in such close quarters and having to share, the bathrooms and the kitchens. So what CCDC did was they created the Feed and Fuel program. So this is really cool because, one, they sourced meals from Chinatown restaurants. So these restaurants were already doing really, they're having a really tough time during COVID. So they sourced meals from these restaurants and then they delivered them to these SROs. And during the 2.5 months that this program was in place last year, they delivered 122,000 meals sourced from 34 local restaurants. So, I think it's really great that they're helping almost like the entire community here, because the people that work in these restaurants, a lot of the times they're low income families and they may be living in these SROs. So they're sourcing the meals from the restaurants, helping keep the community in the restaurants alive. And then they are also helping feed the community too. So I think it was, a really amazing program, and they really made a difference.
That is so cool because, basically they've just created a mutual support relationship within the community. Because like you said, so many restaurants have struggled this last year. And it doesn't sound like you're talking about big chains that are going to be fine anyway. It sounds like you're talking about businesses that are supporting families and now they're also getting to feed families. That's so beautiful.
When you think mom and pop, this is exactly what you see, you think and you see, because you go there and it's literally the husband and wife running a restaurant together.
That's so cool. So I am also seeing here that maybe you have some personal connections to this organization. Is that something you'd like to share?
My mom grew up in Chinatown. So she lived in one of these, not specifically a SRO, but in an affordable housing unit in Chinatown. So CCDC actually helps manage the building that my mom lived at. And then my dad, he grew up in North Beach, so the neighborhood right next to Chinatown. So I have a lot of connections to the neighborhood, but then specifically to CCDC, my dad, or actually I'll start with my uncle, he served as the executive director there for 30 years.
Wow.
So I've kind of grown up hearing about the nonprofit a lot. And then my dad served on the board of directors there for 2 terms recently.
Is that a tradition that you're intending to carry on yourself?
Yeah, it actually is. So I just joined the board last month. And
how?
Yeah, I can kind of give you the story of how it happened, because I've lived in the Nob Hill Chinatown neighborhood for almost 10 years now, and I've always had I'd volunteer sometimes. Definitely I could do more, and there's Well,
You were in the news last year.
well, no. This is pre that. I would do things, but I definitely could be more involved. And then last year, when the pandemic started, I shop at all the grocery stores, and I frequent a lot of the restaurants within Chinatown. So I know a lot of the restaurant owners, and when COVID was first starting, I asked them, I noticed that it's a lot more empty than normal, and I was having conversations, and they said that business was down 80%. Obviously, I felt bad, and I wanted to see what I could do to help them. And with basically the full shutdown, people weren't going out very much. So what I thought that I could do was I would organize big group meal, or not group meals, not getting together, but orders of meals from the restaurants, and then I'd go deliver it to my friends. So I'd message my close friends and say like, hey, on Saturday, I'm gonna go pick up food from the pork chop house. What do you guys want? Let me know, and I'll drop it off. So I would do this, and I would drive all around the Bay Area. And like the first weekend, it was maybe like 8 friends and 15 to 20 orders. But then I would do this every weekend, because back then, we were working from home, and then on the weekends, you really didn't go out much either. But this was a way for me to help the restaurants, and also see my friends, not to hang out, but just to drop off the food. And I wanted to get more orders going. So I would ask on my Facebook post saying, hey, I'm going to New Lenting this week. These are my favorite items here, and these are like Aaron approved restaurants and dishes. And I'd say, like, let me know, reply to the Facebook post and say what you want, and then let me know where you are. So I did this, and it just continued to grow even more. And I think,
how many deliveries did you end up making in a single day? Like how big did your route get?
When I was still delivering door to door, this would be like a 3-hour trip around the Bay Area. And that's when I realized that delivering door to door may not make sense, because I was getting people food at like 8 o'clock on Saturday, and they were like messaging me saying like, hey, are you going to be dropping off the food sometime soon? I also created a Facebook fundraiser. They've got that cool feature where you can, build your own and have it benefit any nonprofit. So I had it benefit CCDC, and I initially set the target for the fundraiser of $1,000, but then I think after maybe like an hour, it was already at like 500. So I was like, okay, I gotta have to bump this up again. So then I increased it up to 2,500, and within I think like 2 days, it hit the 2,500. So then I bumped it up to 10,000, and this took a little bit longer, maybe like 3 or 4 weeks, but I would get people to order food and then also share the fundraiser with them. So I think people could, they were supportive of what I was doing, but then they also saw this is a nonprofit that Aaron's passionate about, and these were people donating. A wide range of people donating. It could be like friends that I haven't seen from high school for a long time, and they don't even live in California anymore, but they just saw that this is something that I'm passionate about, and they believed, so they donated too.
I think a lot of us this last year have been eager for ways to support communities. Basically what you're talking about is just facilitating mutual support relationships. And I think so many of us this last year have really felt our disconnection from community and have been eager to jump on any way to reassert our connection and just affirm this feeling that I think we all have, that we're in this together, and we want to give back. We want to get through this as a team. And when we're all in isolation, it's kind of hard to find those ways of connecting. And I think it's so amazing that you have managed to facilitate so many people coming together to help so many people. That's very, very neat.
I feel like it's one of those things where it restores your faith in humanity, because there's a lot of bad stuff out there, but then you just see the love that all these people have, and it brings a smile to my face. And I think just reading all the words of support was really nice to see.
So if people watching want to support CCDC, obviously they could be playing TwilioQuest throughout the month of May because all of those points will be turned into a donation. But what are some other ways that people might be able to support this organization?
There's a number of ways, and I think here at Twilio, Segment, our new acquisition, their Asian ERG actually has done volunteer events at CCDC. So it's really cool. A lot of companies do volunteer events, but you can also do these things on your own as well. They actually brought back the Feed and Field program. COVID had started to get worse again. So, people can donate. They can, not just CCDC, but I think people can get involved, in whatever community you're in. You can do anything. So, for me here at Twilio, one thing that I wanted to call out was that as meal order size started to grow, I think the final week that we did this, which was the end of May last year, we had 500 orders of food. And I had a team of around 20 volunteers. And I think 4 or 5 of them were Twilions too. So Marietta, Julie Poutre, Laura Beth, and Christina Espinola, they all came out. So it was really fun for me to work on this project with family, friends, volunteering, and coworkers, and especially at a time where we weren't seeing anyone. It was nice just to see people on the weekend and work together.
That is spectacular. That is so cool. I was so excited that because for people that don't know, and why would you? Because I haven't said, I just hopped into, we have employee resource groups at Twilio, and I just hopped into the Asians at Twilio employee resource group, and I was like, hey, I know AAPI Heritage Month is coming up. Does anybody have any suggestions for cool orgs that we could support? And actually, 3 different people pointed me at you, and they were just like, oh, we know who you should be supporting. And I was just so excited. And thank you so much for being willing to not just hook me up with an amazing organization that we could feel good about supporting, but also being willing to come on and share your personal experiences with what seems like just a really spectacular community organization. Plus, the fact that you just did a shout out that people could look in their own communities for orgs to support. Love that. Love the spreading of the love, because yes, as much as I want everybody this month right now to be supporting this amazing fundraising and attention seeking for this one community organization, you're absolutely right that no matter where you are, there are definitely organizations in your area that are doing good work that could use some help.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate the AAPI Heritage Month support, and then of course CCDC, and just trying to get people up and helping the communities out in general is great.